Before I begin, I just want to say something simple. If you've ever sat alone in a hospital waiting room or felt the weight of silence when someone you love is fighting to stay alive, then this story might stay with you for a while. If it does, and if you feel something by the end, I hope you'll click the like button, subscribe, and maybe even leave a comment. It helps more than you know, and it means I get to keep sharing stories like this one. Now, let me tell you what happened that day. The waiting room always felt cold, not freezing, just unnatural. Like the kind of cold that lives in places where too many people whisper bad news. I sat there, knees stiff, elbows heavy on the armrest. I hadn't moved in over an hour, not really. They told me he was in surgery, said it might take a while, said they'd come update me, but no one did. So I watched the hallway, watched every nurse, every flicker of movement, and I held the envelope tighter. It was thick, heavy, like it had secrets in it. I remember the sound of the wall clock ticking. It filled the room like it was shouting, tick, tick, tick. And then the door opened. Not a nurse, not a doctor. It was her. She walked in like it was just another Thursday. Makeup perfect. Hair tucked behind one ear. She didn't look worried, not even a little. She didn't see me. Or maybe she did, and just didn't care. She walked straight to the reception counter. No hesitation, no questions. I leaned forward slightly in my seat, my knuckles whitened around the envelope. "Hi, I'm here to sign the divorce paperwork," she said, smiling at the nurse like she was ordering lunch. "I believe everything's ready." Divorce. While he was under anesthesia. The nurse blinked, taken off guard. Ma'am, the patient is currently in surgery. We usually don't." "Oh, I'm not here to wait for him," she interrupted gently. "I just need to sign. Then I'll be on my way." She unzipped her purse, pulled out a gold pen, laid the papers flat on the counter, and she signed. Every stroke of that pen made a sound in my head, like glass cracking. She didn't tremble, didn't blink, didn't ask about his condition. When she finished, she blew on the last signature to dry it. Then she smiled politely. "Let him know when he wakes up," she said, turning away. "He'll understand." I felt the heat rise in my chest, but I didn't move. Not yet. Because she still didn't know who I was. She turned her back to the counter, adjusted her coat. Her heels clicked on the floor like punctuation marks, and I stood up, slow, steady, holding the envelope in one hand. She noticed me then. Her eyes flickered. Recognition washed over her face like spilled ink. I took one step forward, then another, and the room grew quiet. She didn't speak, didn't smile this time. I could tell she was calculating, trying to remember if she had said my name in front of the nurse, trying to guess what I had seen. I didn't need to raise my voice, didn't need to accuse. I just looked at her, looked straight through her, and said, "He trusted you." Her jaw clenched. "I don't think this is your business," she whispered. I held up the envelope. "It is now." And I saw it, the first flicker of fear in her eyes. Not because of me, but because she finally realized she wasn't the only one holding documents today. Her face twitched, just slightly. That smile she wore when she first walked in? Gone. What replaced it wasn't fear. Not yet. It was calculation. The kind you see in someone who's been in control for too long. She tilted her head, tried to look innocent. "You don't know the full story," she whispered, barely above the hum of the waiting room lights. I didn't blink. "I know enough." She looked past me, like she was hoping someone would interrupt. But the nurse at the counter had quietly stepped into the hallway. No one else was in the room, just me, her, the papers she signed, and the envelope I held. I took another step forward. My shoes echoed on the tile. "I'm not here to fight you," I said quietly. "I'm here because he can't speak for himself right now." She scoffed. "He's had years to speak." I lowered my eyes to the papers on the counter. Then you should have waited until he could at least breathe on his own. Her voice cracked, just slightly. I didn't expect to see you here. I nodded once. I know. The clock behind her ticked louder than it should have, like it was pressing down on both of us. Tick, tick, tick. She looked at it, then at me. How long has he been in there? She asked. I didn't answer right away. She knew. She just wanted to fill the silence. She wanted control again. He lost too much blood, I finally said. They said it might take 4 hours. She crossed her arms, leaned against the counter like it was a casual conversation. So, what's in the envelope? I held it up a little. Didn't hand it to her. Didn't open it either. Something he gave me 3 months ago, I said, in case this ever happened. Her eyes narrowed. What do you mean, this? I kept my voice low. Not the surgery, not the accident. I mean you, this decision. She shifted her weight, like the floor had moved. And I swear, for 1 second I saw it, a flicker of doubt, like maybe she'd been caught. But she recovered. I have nothing to hide, she said, not even looking at me now. She was lying, and we both knew it. I lowered my eyes to the envelope. My thumb brushed over the seal. It wasn't addressed to her. It was addressed to me. In his handwriting. I had promised I wouldn't open it unless I had to. I never thought I'd have to. But now, seeing her here, signing away a life while his body was still under a machine, I had to. So I opened it, slowly, deliberately. She didn't stop me. She just watched. Her arms still crossed, but her eyes wide now. Inside were 2 sheets. One was folded. The other was a letter. Just a few lines. I read the first one out loud. If you're reading this, then something has gone wrong, and you've seen her for who she really is. She flinched. Didn't speak. I kept reading silently, line after line. My pulse slowed. My stomach turned. He knew. He had known. And not just about the divorce. There was more. Much more. And by the time I looked back up at her, she knew I knew. I held the letter like it was fragile, not because the paper was delicate, but because every word on it was loaded with pain. It wasn't long, but every sentence made the air in the room feel heavier. She took a step forward. Just one. I don't know what he told you, she said. Her voice was softer now, more careful, like she was switching tactics. I looked up at her. He told me he didn't trust you, that he hadn't for a long time. She pressed her lips together, didn't deny it, didn't nod either. I went back to the letter. There was one line underlined twice. If she shows up before I'm awake, do not let her take anything. Anything. Not just his name. Not just a signature. I folded the letter and placed it back in the envelope. I'm not here for drama, she said, arms folding again. I just want peace. I stared at her, and for the first time, I felt it. Not just anger, but deep, hollow sadness. Because the man she abandoned still tried to protect her in his final instructions. I stayed standing. The longer I looked at her, the more questions piled up in my mind. But I only asked one. Why now? She looked away, toward the hallway, toward the surgery doors. There was a pause, too long. Then she whispered, because I thought he'd die. Her honesty knocked the breath out of me, not because it was loud, but because it was real. I didn't want to deal with lawyers, or public mess, she added, arms still crossed. I figured if it ended on the table, it would be easier for everyone. I sat back down, because my legs couldn't carry the weight of those words. She looked at me again, almost annoyed. Don't judge me, she said. You don't know what it's like living with someone who's not the person you married. I nodded slowly. You're right. I don't. Then I looked her straight in the eye. But I do know what it's like to watch someone fight to live, while the person who promised to love them signs their freedom away like a gym membership. She blinked fast. But no tears came. None. The room was quiet again. Not peaceful quiet. Sharp quiet. The kind that stings when no one knows what to say. She sat down, finally. Not near me, 3 chairs away. Her purse in her lap, one leg bouncing slightly. I stared at the hallway again, waiting for someone, anyone, to come through the double doors. The envelope rested on my thigh. I could feel its weight. I could feel his weight in it. And then it happened. A soft tone, a different kind of beep from down the hallway. I'd heard it before. Not a warning, not an emergency, just the sound that meant something was done. She heard it too. We both sat up straighter. The door opened. A nurse stepped out, not in a rush, but with the expression that made your stomach knot. She looked around, then at me. "Are you family?" I nodded. Stood again. The wife didn't move. The nurse stepped closer. "He's stable, but he asked for you. Just you." I didn't speak, didn't look at the woman 3 chairs down. I just followed the nurse because now he was awake. The hallway lights hummed as I followed the nurse. I clutched the envelope in one hand, my breath shallow. Each step felt heavier than the last. He had asked for me, only me, not her, not the woman who just signed her way out of his life. We turned the corner, and I saw him. Through the glass panel in the ICU room, wires across his chest, oxygen near his mouth, machines whispering, but his eyes were open. I stepped inside. He blinked at me, slow, tired, but aware. I pulled a chair beside him, sat down, said nothing. I didn't need to. He stared at the envelope. He lifted one trembling hand. I gave it to him. He didn't open it. He just held it against his chest. Then, with a voice dry and thin, he asked, "Did she come?" I nodded once. "She signed." His eyelids fluttered, but no tears. "She didn't even wait?" I didn't answer. I didn't have to. The silence told him everything. He lay there, staring at the ceiling, the envelope still pressed to his chest. I could see his chest rising, but slower now, like the words weighed more than the machines could lift. I leaned in. "She said she thought you'd die," I whispered. He didn't react, just blinked again. "She said it would be easier this way, if you were gone." His lips trembled slightly. Then he whispered, "Then why do I still miss her?" That hit harder than anything else that day. Not the divorce, not the betrayal. That, because love doesn't die just because someone else stops feeling it. "She didn't cry," I said. "She didn't ask how you were. She just wanted to sign and leave." He nodded slowly, not surprised, just sad. "I kept thinking if I fixed myself, she'd come back," he said. "I lost weight, started therapy. I gave her everything." His voice cracked. "But she waited for the one day I couldn't speak, to finally say everything she wanted." I reached for his hand, held it firm. He closed his eyes, and for the first time since I arrived, he wept. The door opened again. Quietly. I turned. It was her. She stepped in like she belonged there. He didn't look at her, didn't flinch. She cleared her throat. "I just wanted to say goodbye. That's all." Still, he didn't look at her. But I felt his grip on my hand tighten. She walked to the other side of the bed, stood there, arms folded, cold. "I hope you recover. I really do," she said, her voice even. "I just can't keep pretending." He opened his eyes, spoke without turning. "You never had to pretend. You just had to stay." Silence, sharp, humid. She opened her mouth to speak again, but stopped, then looked at me. "What did you tell him?" I didn't answer. I just turned to him. "Do you want her here?" I asked. He didn't pause, didn't hesitate. "No." And for the first time, her eyes shifted. Just for a second. The mask cracked, then she turned and walked out. No goodbye, no glance back. Only the faint sound of her heels echoing down the hallway. After she left, the room felt lighter. Not peaceful. Not yet. but like someone had opened a window in a place that hadn't been aired out in years. He didn't speak right away. Neither did I. I sat beside him, watched the monitors blink softly, watched the slow, steady rise of his chest. Then he broke the silence. "She loved my money," he said, voice hoarse. "She loved my last name." I didn't interrupt, didn't correct. "And I loved the way she made me feel like I was worth something," he added, "even if it wasn't real." His fingers twitched near the edge of the blanket. He was trying not to cry again. I thought getting better would bring her back. I leaned closer. "You getting better brought you back," I said, "and that's what matters now." He gave the smallest nod, and then, quietly, he said something I wasn't ready for. "Do you have the other envelope?" I reached into my jacket, felt the smooth seal between my fingers. It wasn't marked, no name, just a blank white envelope. He had handed it to me months ago. No explanation. "Only if she tries to leave," he had said back then. Only then. And she had left. I placed the envelope in his palm. He looked down at it, took a deep breath. With slow, trembling fingers, he tore the seal, pulled out a single sheet. I saw his eyes scan the lines. No emotion at first, just a quiet focus. Then, a slight curve at the corner of his mouth. "Not for her," he said quietly. "Not even close." I blinked. "What is it?" He looked at me. "A signed revocation," he said, "of her access to everything. Bank accounts, real estate, even the emergency contact list at this hospital." "She thought she was one step ahead," he said. "But I made sure she was 3 steps behind." He folded it again, tucked it beside him in the bed. Then he turned to me, voice low. "She can walk away, but she won't walk out with anything." The door opened again, this time without knocking. It was her. Again. But something had changed. Her eyes weren't sharp this time. Her steps weren't firm. She looked shaken. "I forgot my purse," she said, not even looking at him. It was a lie. Her purse was in her hand. He didn't respond, didn't move. She glanced at the bedside drawer, like maybe something was still hers, but he lifted the revocation paper, held it just high enough for her to see. She stopped moving. "What is that?" she asked, her voice tight. He looked right at her. "This is what happens when someone leaves before the last heartbeat," he said. Her mouth parted. No words came. Then, slowly, without saying a thing, she backed away, turned, and this time, she didn't just walk out. She ran. Down the hallway, down the cold, quiet corridor that had once held her silence. Gone. And all that was left was the sound of his breathing. And mine. And finally, peace. She was gone. This time it felt final. No sound but the monitor beeping beside him. No footsteps, no excuses. Just the two of us now. He closed his eyes for a long moment. Not sleeping. Just resting. I stayed by his side, watching him, letting him breathe. It felt like everything had cracked open that day, his body, his marriage, the illusion of love that had lasted longer than it should have. Then he opened his eyes again, turned his head toward me. "Thank you," he said. Quiet, sincere. I didn't think anyone would stay. I squeezed his hand gently. "You didn't have to ask," I said. "I was always going to be here." His lip quivered, this time not from pain, but from something deeper. And then, almost too softly to hear, "I knew if she left, you wouldn't." He meant it, every word, because I wasn't just his friend, or his lawyer, or his witness. I was his brother. After a few minutes, he shifted slightly in the bed. His fingers motioned toward the folded revocation letter. "Can you give that to the nurse?" he asked. "Make sure it goes into my chart." I nodded, took the paper gently. As I stepped into the hallway, I caught sight of the same nurse from earlier, the one who had watched everything unfold. She nodded as I handed it over. Didn't ask questions, didn't need to. I returned to the room, sat down again. He looked calmer now, still pale, still fighting for every breath. but lighter somehow, like something had finally lifted. He turned his head slightly toward me again. "Do you think people change?" he asked. I paused, thought about her face, her hands signing those papers, her heels tapping out the end of something she never built with both hands. Then I looked at him and said, "No, but they reveal themselves. Eventually." He smiled, a tired, knowing smile, and then he whispered something I'll never forget. "You didn't come here to watch me die." "No," I said. "I came to watch you live." That night, no one else came. Not a single call, not a single text. He drifted off around midnight. The machines kept humming, the monitors kept glowing, and I just sat there, still, watching over him. It wasn't the kind of ending I thought this day would have, but it was the one that mattered. He'd wake up again tomorrow. Alone, yes, but not abandoned. There's a difference, because some people walk away when they think no one's looking, and others stay even when there's nothing left to take. I stayed, because love doesn't always come with rings and promises. Sometimes it shows up quietly, with a chair, a hand to hold, and a sealed envelope. That day didn't break him. It revealed the truth, and for once, truth was enough. If this story moved you, if you've ever been in a room where love felt one-sided, or loyalty was tested in silence, I invite you to like this video, subscribe, and leave a comment, not for the algorithm, but because stories like this deserve to be shared. Sometimes the quietest people in the waiting room are the ones who matter most.